when you look at why this country is a better country, I think the Hillman has a lot to do with it, the impact of its reporting, understanding that journalism is not necessarily in crisis, it's the business model. And there's no one here who's going to go on bended knee for a story, but there are those who understand the importance of an independent press. And Steve, may I have your remarks after this meeting, please? After this, have something upbeat but bittersweet to speak to. The Sing Sing Chronicles. Have you seen it? If you haven't, you must. Even one exoneration would be impressive, but the Sing Sing Chronicles helped free 6 innocent men. And this 4-part documentary shows the power of journalism to right wrongs, instigate reforms, and empower those who suffered injustice to advocate for themselves. And in 2002, a Bronx homicide detective opened up to rookie reporter Dan Slepian about a case that had been haunting him. 2 gang members had confessed to a shooting outside the Palladium nightclub in 1990, but 2 innocent men were serving time for the murder. This tip became the story of a lifetime that set Slepian on a 20-plus-year quest for justice. His principal adversary, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which fiercely defended its wrongful convictions. David Lemus and Olmedo Hidalgo were ultimately exonerated in the Palladium shooting, and thus began what one might call a snowball effect, where a man exonerated in one case would introduce Slepian to fellow inmates with strong innocence claims. Lemus introduced Slepian to John Adrian, J.J. Velasquez, whom he believed was wrongfully convicted, and urged Slepian to prove it. In turn, Velasquez introduced Slepian to 3 other men at Sing Sing. Slepian investigated their cases as well and ultimately won their freedom. Velasquez was the last to be exonerated just last year. Dan Slepian obtained unique access to Sing Sing prison and shot over 1,000 hours of what might be called verite real-time footage. Acclaimed filmmaker and director Dawn Porter drew from this extensive archive, dating back to 2002, to weave a narrative that dissects each conviction and unveils a deeply human story. Dan and JJ regularly talk to students, prosecutors, criminal defense attorneys, and justice reform organizations across the country about their experience. I want to just say, as you saw in the film, this documentary also celebrates the power of family, particularly the bond between mothers and sons and fathers that endures through prison bars and over lifetimes. We're delighted and honored that J.J. Velasquez, his mother Maria, and his sons John Jr. and Jacob are with us tonight. Please come up.
What an honor and humbling and so much gratitude to Hillman and to be among all of you. This was never the goal. I've spent my career working in investigative journalism. Actually, this year marks my 30th year at Dateline. But the Sing Sing's Chronicles was not an investigation or a story to me. It was something much, much deeper. It was a personal reckoning. It was a transformational moment that changed me both as a journalist and as a human being. For 20 years, I bore witness to an incredibly dark side of the justice system that I didn't know existed growing up. I first met J.J. Velasquez more than 20 years ago. I visited him more than 250 times at Sing Sing. I met J.J. before I met my own daughter. And this Saturday, she's graduating from college. That she did all fine, but the point is that's how long this lasted. That's how long this fight took. That's how long it took for the world to catch up to what we had already known. He didn't do it. The series isn't just about wrongful convictions, it's about human dignity. It's about what it means to not look away. And this honor tonight, it hardly belongs to me. First, it belongs to the men that I did these stories about: David Lemus, Olmedo Hidalgo, JJ, my brother, Eric Glisson, who spent 18 years in prison for a murder he did not commit, that JJ introduced me to, Johnny Hincapié and Richard Rosario, and so many others who are still behind bars waiting to be heard. And of course, to the team who made this possible, beginning with NBC News Studios President Liz Cole, who stood by me for 20 years. Over those 20 years, as you heard, I filmed more than 1,000 hours of footage just because I was bearing witness and I had to document what I was seeing. And years later, once JJ got out, it was Liz who saw the power in that. It was Liz who said, we need to launch this series. It was Liz who said, let's do it, and fought to raise the money to make it happen. And Liz, I will always appreciate you for that. Thank you. Rebecca Blumenstein, the editorial president of NBC News. I don't know if you're here, but I've said it to you privately. I will say it publicly, as I always do. I've never met a leader who has more focus and is more interested and is more committed to meaningful impact journalism, enterprise journalism. Your belief in this work means the world to me, to all of us, and we're very glad to have you at the helm. Dawn Porter, who couldn't be here tonight, our director, took on this project and elevated it with the brilliance and filmmaking grace that she has, and to Kim Ferdinando, who is right there. 8 years ago, I rode up in an elevator at 30 Rock with Kim, and I took her to my desk and I begged her to join this fight with me because I had already been with JJ at that point for 15 years, and he was still in prison. Kim joined me, and she never looked back. And she became the showrunner for this, leading this project with the elegance and intelligence and the empathy in only the way that she can, and in a way that I've rarely seen. You know, she didn't just shape the story, she felt the story. And I appreciate all of your hard work in making this happen. And the result is something human. It's honest, and I think it's lasting. But perhaps the real hero of this story is Maria Velasquez. Stand up, Maria, please. It was 23 years ago, on a Thanksgiving morning that I met Maria in a prison lobby. She was waiting for me, holding the hands of her two little grandsons, JJ's children, waiting for me, begging me, help. My son is innocent. I knew nothing about wrongful convictions back then. But I looked at her those two little boys who were 8 and 5. Today they're 30 and 27. They're here, Jacob and John. And it was Jacob. I always say this, it was Jacob's beautiful little 5-year-old eyes looking up at me. Why am I here in this prison? Can you help me make it stop? I was about to become a father myself. And I made a choice that day. I made a choice to say, what if Maria is telling the truth? When I said it might take 10 years or 15 years in 2007, I was trying to keep JJ's expectations low. It literally took 15 years from the moment I said that. In 2021, JJ was granted clemency 3 years ago, 2021 in September. This September will be 4 years since he walked out, so he's 4 years old. And I knew him for 20 years inside of a prison's visiting room across the table. But he wasn't free. He walked free after 23 years, 7 months, and 8 days. for a murder he didn't commit where he lived in a cage the size of a parking spot. But in the eyes of the law, he was still a convicted killer. He was on parole. He had a curfew. That all changed just 8 short months ago. 20 days after my book, The Sing Sing Files, came out, and 6 short weeks before our docuseries came out. You know, people talk about causation or correlation. I don't know. I think journalism matters. And it was 20 days after my book came out and 6 weeks after this came out that finally, he was fully exonerated, his great name cleared. JJ and Eric, thank you for bringing my brothers. I love you. You have taught me so much, both of you. It is the honor of my life for us to call each other three the hard way, is what we do when we hang out. You guys have shown me what truth looks like when it refuses to give up and die. This award means everything to me because it's not just a recognition of the power of documentary filmmaking. It's a recognition of why we do it. As cliche as this sounds, we need investigative journalism more than ever. Thank you, Hillman, for supporting it and recognize it. We need the kind of documentary storytelling that places like NBC News Studios does so well. It takes time, it takes money, but these men will tell you that it's worth it. So if you're a journalist, don't look away and keep fighting. And if you're an executive like Liz Cole or Rebecca, please keep saying yes. Thank you very much.